Alright everybody, after you finish downloading your images, you're going to want to get started with the logo in Photoshop. So make sure to find Photoshop. It's in your program menu in the lower left. You'll see it listed as Adobe Photoshop CS5, and we use the 64-bit version. So take a second to launch the program. Your first step starting any project is going to be to set up your new canvas. So you're going to go up to File and select New. Make sure first that you are set to not pixels or millimeters, but to inches. We need inches to start. If you change the one setting, it will change both of these. And then make sure that we have 5 by 5 input here. So we're starting out with a 5 by 5 inch canvas. You can also give the project a name. And click OK, and you'll have your new canvas ready to go. Your next step is to open up the images that you have saved. So you're going to go up to File at the top and select Open. And then find all the images that you might like to use in your project. Remember, you might have a bunch. I'm going to select just a few samples here. I'm going to grab a dragon. And after you select the first image you want to use, if you hold the Control key, it'll allow you to select any other images. So they'll open all at once. So I'm going to select a few here. So I've held Control, and you'll select all your images, click Open, and it'll take a second, but they're all going to open up in Photoshop. So you'll see everything opens in its own tab here at the top. My logo is my canvas. The dragon is here, Tools 2, and TV icon. And that's the one that's our active window that we're looking at. So the first step then is to jump over to your canvas. And then you're going to want to pull one of these tabs down. I would recommend starting with your shape, or what you think is going to be kind of the container for everything. I'm going to use my TV icon for that one. So I'm going to drag, just touch and hold on the tab and drag it down. It'll open up in its own separate window. And then we're going to use the Move tool, which is your first tool. It looks like an arrow right at the top of your toolbar here off to the left. We're going to grab that image and drag it and drop it onto our canvas. And then you can either exit out, or you can just push this right back to the top and it'll save it for you for later. Make sure though that you click on my logo or your canvas to make sure that you have that one active so we can start to edit. Our first step is to resize. So we're going to use Control T. Just holding the Control key and tapping the T will get our resize option here. It's very similar to SketchUp. And you're going to want to use your corner grip here to get everything to fit onto the canvas the way that you want. And as soon as you get it sized up the way that you'd like, just double click anywhere on the image and it'll save that change for you. The next step would be to bring in some of our other design elements. So some of the images or icons that we want to use to reflect about, in this case, about you. And I have my dragon and I have some tools that I'm going to put because I like to build stuff. So I'm going to drag the Tools tab out. Make sure to click on my logo at the top so that we can see that we have our canvas active. And then use the Move tool again. And this time just same thing. Just drag it right over onto the canvas. We're going to resize it again. Control T. And then you have to decide kind of where you want to put the thing. And I'm going to kind of sub it in here for my antenna that are at the top. And we'll use that as an example here in just a minute to show you how to erase objects as well. So I'm going to double click. And now I have that loaded in and ready to go. And the last piece I wanted to bring in is my dragon. So I'm going to click on that tab at the top. And actually first I'll push this one back up to save it for later. I'm going to drag the dragon tab down. And you'll see once we start to drag this over, it's going to give us a symbol that says that it's not allowed. So we're not able to move that. And that's just a special type of image you'll run into every once in a while. It's called an index image. And you'll see next to the layer name, it'll say index, or it might say actual index right next to the name of the file itself. So to change that so you can use it in your project, you're going to go up to the top and select Image here, off to the left. Go to Mode, and just switch it to RGB Color. That's the standard we'll use for all of our projects. And that way it'll unlock the image for you, and then you can successfully move it over here on the canvas. One thing I don't want though is this black that surrounds the dragon. So I'm going to use another tool. It's called the Magic Wand tool. And it's only 1, 2, 3, 4 tools down here. Sometimes it'll show up as the quick selection tool, which looks kind of like a brush. But if you touch and hold on it with your mouse and switch over to Magic Wand, it's going to help us to select all the same color that's in the dragon image. So I want to get rid of the black, so I'm going to click anywhere on the black, and it should select all of it. Tap the backspace or the delete key, and it'll get rid of any backgrounds that we don't need. Then I'm going to just Control-T this and resize it again. Get it to fit on my screen here. And I'm going to show you one other thing I want to be able to do is to copy things, and sometimes to flip them around to an opposite direction. So we're going to get over here, and we do have to be able to see. I've got my history window open, which is important. Remember, any of the windows that you don't have or you're looking for are up in the window menu. You can turn those on or off anytime. I have history and layers so I can see what's going on over here. So I'm going to jump to my layers window and drag this down onto the new layer button, which is right next to the trash can. And it's going to make an instant copy of that thing, which is then going to allow me, if I use Control-T, remember we can resize things, but we can also create a mirrored version. So we can just grab the grip on one side and flip it to the opposite side. So now I have my 2 dragons here in the background. Some other things you might want to do is to select a new color to be able to add instead of the white that you see here. So your color picker is on the lower left, and you'll see sometimes it's set to black and white. Just click on that front color, and it'll allow you here in the middle to slide through any known color. Find the color that you like in the window and select it. Click OK, and then you can use it with any brush, or in this case, we're going to be using the paint bucket. Sometimes that shows up as the gradient tool. But if you touch and hold, you'll see we'll switch to the paint bucket, which would allow us then to select as our active layer the TV over here, and then to fill that background with color. And the last step, although we can play around with all these different options here, is to erase these antennas in the background. So I'm going to, just for a second, I'm going to shut off the visibility of my tool layer here. I'm going to grab the eraser, and I'm just going to erase away some of these antennas here. And we can change the size of the brush at the top here, the eraser in this case. You can make it smaller or larger, which could help you to be more precise as you're editing. We'll turn the tools back on, and the last step is then to add some text. So if you use your text tool, it's the big T off to the left. Click anywhere on your canvas here once it's active. You'll see the color of the text is assigned at the top, the type of font, and the size, and you can change all those things. I'm just going to put my initials in. And you'll notice now, though, that they're kind of in the background, right? They're behind the dragons. And remember, that's just based on how things are arranged over in your layers palette off to the right. So any of these things we can drag up to the top of the list, and it'll be in front. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab my text layer and just push it up to the front, and that'll be in front of my dragons. So those are some quick things you can do to start to get your elements onto your design and start to resize and play around with them in a bunch of different ways. I hope this helped to get you started, and we'll work with some effects tomorrow.